Hello viewers, welcome to part 3 of my iRacing. Now this was filmed, I filmed the first 10 races before I put any up, so I hadn't got to that point of unchecking the tyres and fuel box when I was in the pits. But we'll crack on now with race 4, let's see what happened in that. Okay, so race 4 then on the grid, and away we go. Cleanly away, improving a little bit of the start every time, but still not great. There's an incident there off to my left, a bit of action, didn't know what was happening there. I'm just concentrating on my line on the inside, giving everybody lots of space. That guy around on the outside, giving him space as well. Knowing I've got that inside line, everyone's giving themselves lots of space. It's good to see. And these are all just rookie cars, remember. This is still my, as I say, my 4th race, still learning the circuit, but I'm in high division now, so these are better players, much better players that I'm up against than in the earlier race. I made a little mistake, the car behind me trying to avoid me, and slight pile up there. But it happens in motor racing, so obviously everybody's on cold tyres, they go out there and it takes a couple of laps to really bring them up to temperature. So it's very easy to make a mistake. And so, from my win earlier on, I was still feeling quite confident. I'm thinking now, right, I want to catch these guys and get another victory in the bag. But already, of course, they're using the Cup cars, and had I been using the Cup car at this stage, I would have definitely been in for a win. But I just can't get any more speed out my car, and I'm half a second a lap slower at the moment and just can't find it. So for me, the Roadster is considerably slower and just simply not competitive, but I wouldn't take no for an answer and kept pushing lap after lap. So you can see those guys gradually pulling away from me at the moment, and of course not knowing the speed differential in the cars. We look at a replay of the start, so you can see that little incident which took place, focusing on the black car with the white go faster stripes. And you can see he moves across in front of the white car and takes himself out the race essentially. The white car had nowhere to go there. So that was just poor driving. There's no point in doing that into turn 1. It's a waste of time. As they say, to finish first you have to finish. I had a look from the black car's point of view just here, and you can see how, I don't know what went through his mind, just trying to cut somebody up in turn 1 and gave him nowhere to go. So that was ridiculous driving. There's lots and lots of space on the right hand side of the track for him to go into. Takes himself out of the race, and there you go, he's not going anywhere. As we cut back to me, still vainly trying to hang on, but you can see I've been losing time while pushing as hard as I possibly can in this car. I just couldn't find any more speed in it at this stage. I think my lap times were somewhere around 102.9, something like that. I just couldn't get it to go faster. The Cup car is considerably quicker for me, and this is where a mistake comes now, pushing too hard, and again, such a horrible little mistake. But once it gets into a slide, it's so difficult to get out of that slide. Lucky not to have a little pile up myself there. I thought there was a bit more of a gap between the next car. So mistakes happen. I'm down into 5th place now from what would have been a comfortable 3rd place. I think what I've learned now is, for future races, when you are in a situation where you're in a solid 3rd place like that, if you've got space in front and behind and you're obviously not gaining on 1st place, just focus on your own laps. And I think on this occasion I was pushing for the win rather than just settling for what I had. Here we're seeing some incidents elsewhere in the race. There's guys battling for 1st and 2nd. You see there's a fair amount of jostling and blocking going on between these guys. Quite aggressive racing. Side by side action. And sometimes it's always going to end in tears as we come up to a high speed corner. This is not an overtaking corner. It's simply not an overtaking corner. You really need to be directly alongside to even consider it. Otherwise that happens every single time in every race. It's not an overtaking place, and to be fair, the blue car there was taken out. You really need to, and there we go, his wheels obviously damaged, so that's the end of his race. Then he's going to need to limp back to the pits. Takes time, doesn't it? And it's going to be a long drive home. You can see there the car's not going to be going anywhere quickly, so he's going to try and drive that all the way around the track to get to the pits. I can tell already that it's going to be a nightmare trying to get that to the pits. It's going to be falling off most corners. I'm coming up in the background. It shows actually at this stage of the race I must have had another spin somewhere I'm not aware of, or certainly an incredibly slow lap myself, but my TV does turn off periodically, which has been a bit of an issue for me in some of these races, and that could have been an issue here. I record some of this over the shoulder. So I'm through into 4th place. It should have been 3rd, up into 4th. Should have been 2nd, really. But not a great race, but a top 5 finish, so can't grumble at that one. A bunch of clean laps in the bag and a little bit more experience as well. As I come around these final couple of corners. Taking it nice and easy, no point pushing on these final laps. And that is the end of race 4. Okay, so it's on to race 5 now, and a mistake by me there, a jump start. I made a terrible error there. I saw the lights go from grey to red and just saw that as red to go. Terrible mistake. I moved forward about a metre and let everybody by. I thought there's no point in racing now. This race is already over. It's absolutely ruined. So I'm just going to cruise around, go in the pits and come out a couple of laps down on everybody. Incredibly frustrating, but I did learn at least get the starting procedure in my mind. As I say, the first race I didn't know the starting procedure, and then with this race again, a loss in concentration at the start. Just saw the colours and realised I'd made the mistake almost instantly, but it's too late then. You've got a jump start penalty. If it was just a drive-through penalty, that would be okay, but with the stop and go, it basically ruins your race. I end up 2 laps down here. So cruising into the pits then. Taking it nice and slow. I just keep it in 1st gear, which is about 1 mile an hour below the pit lane limit. I haven't set a pit lane limiter button, and my keyboard is not within range of my racing rig. So aerial viewpoint, you can see me moving at the very back there. Oh, that's it, just a few feet, about 1 second before the lights changed, and then I just hung back after that and thought, well, I'm not going to get mixed up in any turn 1 carnage. I'm just going to mind my own business. And that guy seemed to go really slow. I was waiting for him to go ahead of me, but he just seemed to want me to go by, so fair enough. Then there was an incident somewhere in this next corner, turns 2 and 3. A couple of guys sliding off, so I'm in the pits while otherwise guys get fixed. And coming out there, notice I'm quite late changing gear. And we'll get to another incident on changing gear coming out the pits, but a bit frustrating for me. I'm 2 laps down at this stage, so we've cut out about 1.5 minutes. Obviously they did the pit lane penalty along with the tyres and fuel, and so now it's just a case of driving round and round and round. And that was it, trying to unlap myself and just hoping for the best. Making a mistake, going wide. Again, I think another frustration is for me, I just didn't seem quick enough. My car I didn't feel I could get any more speed out of it at this stage. We can hear a crash going on somewhere on the course. So again, just by moving, just by going round and round and round as fast as I can, I move up a couple of places here. You can see there's a car recovering there. And so this means I really just need to focus on putting in clean laps. And you can see I've overtaken those guys much later in the race. Made my way up from 9th to 7th in the end. So recovery, it's damaged. The instant I hit start, I knew I had to do 25 laps from the back, from a couple of laps down, and just had to hope that other people fell off the track but it was a good learning experience. It's something I won't do again. I've improved my starts radically since that incident. Nevertheless, it was again 25 clean laps in the bag, which, you know, helps out, and again, just constantly learning, and that's another race over. So race 5 completed, finished in 7th place there, and we roll on to the next race. On to race 6 then. So being more careful at the start, very careful. You'll notice I hadn't qualified for any races, so I was always starting near the back, but I was doing this on purpose. I'm also in the Cup car for the first time. This was my first race getting used to the Cup car. Hadn't exactly set it up as I would like it as far as the braking was concerned, but it was okay. It was a lot more balanced for me. There's incidents here. I'm thinking, goodness, I'm going to take this nice and slow, on the brakes already, avoiding these guys, going nice and wide. If anybody wants to come through, they can. I'm not going to get in anybody's way. I just want to get through this first lap nice and clear now. All I want to do is finish the race, and if I don't make any mistakes, I'm bound to do better than I have done on the last couple of races. So making a few places up just by mistakes and cars falling off the track, everything else. And so far so good then. Taking this first lap, obviously tyres are not up to temperature yet, but I'm feeling nice and comfortable. I already feel that this car ahead, I can take him in a few laps if I just keep a bit of composure and focus now. There's a fair amount of excitement that goes through you on that first lap when you're avoiding everybody and jostling for position. So I'm thinking more about the cars ahead than behind at the moment, because I know I've got a lot more pace in the car. And now I lose concentration for whatever reason and go off. My first mistake, absolutely terrible error. I don't know what came across me there. I was thinking about my recording device. It stopped recording, and unfortunately I wasn't thinking about the race. And what I've said to myself there is, so annoyed with myself for that. I was absolutely furious. I wanted a good finish there. And what did I do when I came out the pits? Well, I broke the speeding limit coming out of the pits. So I've now got a pit lane penalty for speeding in the pits, which, if my race wasn't ruined already, it certainly is now. So already two and a half laps down. I've got another pit lane penalty, which will put me 5 laps down, and ultimately it means again another race of just, oh dear, here we come in the pits. Not happy. Not been a good day at the office, it has to be said. I had 2 tragic races, and that crash really did finish my day on the worst possible note. As we look at another replay here, is this, oh no, this is later in the race now. I was carrying on unlapping myself, probably a bit cheeky, you shouldn't, but I was just not in a good mood at this stage, and decided I wanted to overtake everyone, and if I could get at least a lap back on a couple of cars, then you never know what can happen with the slow guys. But alas, it's not what I needed. Thankfully, my future races are a little bit more positive than a couple on this one, but what it shows you is the mistakes I've made. So the jump start, silly mistake. The loss of concentration, silly mistake. The speeding in the pits, all very easily done. I'm sure many iRacers have done that at some point when they've been annoyed with themselves and ended up in the pits. Unfortunately, it's just one of those things. You really just need a focus, and obviously I don't have a pit lane limiter button marked, so that's something which can help. So my worst ever finish, and hopefully that will remain my worst ever finish in this third and final iRace on this particular episode. So that was my iRacing episode 3. Not my best runs, was it? I think everything that could go wrong did go wrong in those races, but at the same time got some consistent runs in, moved on to a new car. The jump starts, obviously I'm much more careful with my starts now. You know, I think it's many people will make that mistake, and I think it's the same with the pit lane speed limit. I was so annoyed I'd made that silly loss of concentration that I came out the pits and just shifted up into second gear and wasn't really thinking. I think one point of note in that is I was driving the Roadster, which goes 5 miles an hour faster in first gear than the Cup car, so I was looking at my speed relative and not the gear I was in. So of course shifting up to second to hit my standard speed meant the revs went very high and I sped out of the pits. But there you go, these mistakes can happen very easily, so it's something for you guys to take into account when you're starting your iRacing career. Again, I've used the fixed car. I've done nothing but alter my sort of braking and my force feedback at the moment, and I'll be looking a lot more at sort of tuning and everything in future episodes and guiding you guys through that as I learn it as well. And I want to say a big thanks to everybody for your feedback on the videos and things like the unticking the fuel and tyres when going to the pits. You know, stuff like that I wouldn't know if you guys weren't telling me. So if there's any tips you guys have that I can include in future videos, do let me know. But iRacing, lots of fun. I've been off it for the last week just filming these videos. I've got lots more of these to sort of catch up on, and after that the coverage will be running live as I do the races as well, so lots to look forward to there. But that's it from me for now, viewers, on this episode of iRacing. We've got another episode of iRacing coming up early next week, plus loads of other coverage, racing action. But that's it from me for now. More soon.